Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true. EOG stops same-day service for letters of identity. The Electoral Office of Jamaica, EOG, said that effective Thursday, January 13, requests for letters of identity at its head office in downtown Kingston will be processed as a next-day service. Previously, electors could request a letter of identity at 43 Dirk Street, Kingston, and receive it on the same day. However, with this new adjustment, electors who request a letter at this location will be required to collect it on the following day, the EOJ said in a release. Over the last week, we have observed large gathering at the head office daily as individuals come to make requests and collect letters of identity. Out of concern for the health and well-being of our staff and for our electors, we have decided to shift from same-day processing to a next-day service for letters of identity in order to better manage the process. We recognize that the new variant of the COVID-19 virus is highly contagious, and therefore, we are taking even greater precautions, the release quoted Gospel Bond, Director of Elections. He cited concern for the health and wellness of the EOJ staff as well as the public as the main reason for the change. Each day, electors who are requesting the letter and those who are collecting will be processed separately at the EOJ's head office. Since January 3, 2022, electors who are in the process of renewing their voter's ID and are awaiting the new card may request a letter of identity from the EOJ to be used as a provisional identification document in the interim. Faval urges national support for back-to-school efforts. Minister of Education and Youth Faval Williams says 954 of Jamaica's 983 primary and high schools have been approved for reopening by the Ministry of Health and Wellness and urge all Jamaicans to support the government's efforts to have children back in school. She told the House of Representatives Tuesday that the green light for reopening means there has been a physical re-inspection of our schools for COVID and non-COVID issues. Even as the COVID-19 virus is causing disruptions to learning, our students and our teachers are utilizing all the modalities, online, audiovisual, learning kit and face-to-face, to ensure that the mental health of our children gets attention and the academic progress of our students continue, she said, in an update on the conditions of the island schools as the government increases its efforts to have resumption of face-to-face lessons in all its educational institutions. She also disclosed that COVID-compliant schools have wash stations or sinks where the children have easy access to wash their hands, distant markers to make the students aware of how far apart to stand or sit from each other. Also, an isolation room with its own bathroom facility in the event a child shows up coughing or having runny nose or fever, so that the child can be isolated until medical help arrives. However, she admitted that based on a recent World Bank study for Jamaica, the fiscal impact over and above that we are currently spending to support the health and safety requirement for the reopening up of school is going to be in the order of 2.4 to 3.9 billion annually for the next 1 to 2 years. This includes the cost of re-enrollment campaign and outreach activity, providing targeted support for the most at-risk students, mitigation and prevention of students dropout, and facilitating remedial education to minimize learning loss. Our efforts to reopen our schools for face-to-face have to be seen against the significant learning loss our children have been experiencing since March 2020, when they were required to be at home. Since then, they have only been able to come back to the physical classrooms for very short periods, not enough to make a significant impact on the learning loss, Williams explained. As a result, we must do the best we can to keep our children safe as they travel to and from school, as they are in the classrooms, and as they return home. We seek the help of all Jamaicans, but in particular, the parents and guardians to help to keep our children safe. We are pleading with parents who have children in our primary schools for whom there are no vaccines at this time in Jamaica for them. Please seek to get yourself vaccinated so you can provide protection for yourself and for your children, she urged the country. To parents of high school students, have a conversation with your children. Encourage them to take the vaccines. I give the same encouragement to all principal, teachers, and staff and all who work in the school environment and have to interact with our children. Help us to protect them so they have the opportunity to recover their learning that they have lost. We continue to appeal to everyone to wear their mask, wash their hands or sanitize frequently, and practice physical distancing. These protocols, together with the added layer of protection that vaccinations provide, are Jamaica's best tools for significantly reducing the spread of the COVID-19 virus, decreasing hospitalizations, and keeping our children in the face-to-face learning and teaching environment. To date, the figures show that approximately 30% of our high school students have been vaccinated. This school year will have its fair share of new challenges, but we are committed and determined to providing the best educational opportunities for all our children, the minister stated. Third deadline extension granted on Junction Main Road. The government has granted the contractor handling the first phase of rehabilitation of Junction Main Road a third extension on its deadline to complete the billion-dollar project. On Tuesday, the National Works Agency (NWA) said the rehabilitation, which started on November 6, 2017, was 96% finished, noting that $1.117 billion contract was revised up to $597.7 million. The contractor, Survey Paving and Aggregated Limited, has so far been paid $989.7 million. Completion of the project, which is running 4 years behind its original schedule, has now been pushed to next month. The previous extension ran to the end of December 2021. In a submission intended for the November 24 meeting of Parliament's Infrastructure and Physical Development Committee, which was postponed, the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation said the contractor's rate of production was unacceptably low and that the NWA has indicated to the contractor that failure to significantly increase the rate of production in November 2021 will result in immediate steps being taken under the contract to close out the project. Consequently, the outstanding works may be completed by another contractor using the balance of funds under the contract. The ministry was not present on Tuesday's meeting, and no mention was made of this ultimatum, but NWA boss E.G. Hunter said it was easier to labor on with the contract than to try to terminate it. Hunter stressed that if there are delays caused by the owner of the contractor is compensated by way of a claim, and that the contract also provides a remedy if the situation is in the reverse. Attributing the prolonged delays of geotechnical issues, he said, "A lot of the challenges we have had on this contract are directly related to the capability and capacity of the contractor to deliver. It has been said, why don't you take away the contract from the contractor? But the truth is that, in practice, it is very difficult to terminate a contract. It is more expedient to try and drag the contractor across the finish line, which is what we are doing." The contractor has engaged a number of subcontractors to complete the outstanding works. At the same time, he said that current situation of the work represents the best position that we've ever been in respect of his job. The works that remain are what might be considered peripheral to the substance of the contract. None of these works which remain affects the functioning of the corridor, he said. The Junction Main Road runs from Stony Hill St. Andrew to Aqualand Vale St. Mary. The section from Stony Hill to Toms River was previously rehabilitated by the NWA. Aquata Vale to Broadgate is the 4.8-kilometer corridor being rehabilitated by Surrey Paving and Aggregate. The contract for Phase 2, Broadgate to Toms River, has not yet been awarded. Cabinet changes trivial, says Golden. Opposition leader Mark Golden on Tuesday labeled the cabinet changes made by Prime Minister Andrew Holness as a fairly trivial exercise that deflects attention from issues of national importance. According to Golden, Holness has not been steadying the ship and has yet to indicate any clear strategies for the nation. Additionally, the opposition leader berated the Office of the Prime Minister (OPM) and the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, which combined now comprise Holness 5 members without portfolio and a Minister of State, as a naughty corner for disgrace ministers who have no clear structure or mandate. It used to be a place to house judicial politics, who refer to as home. It is now the naughty corner for ministers who have disgraced the government, Golden said at the PNP press conference on Tuesday. Holness announced the new cabinet late Monday evening, and Golden comments came on Tuesday against the background of one-time Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries Floyd Green, who resigned last September following public backlash for flaunting COVID-19 protocols, returning to cabinet as a minister without portfolio in the office of the Prime Minister. The opposition leader also called out Holness for what he dubbed emotional manipulation in his tearful address at last week's National Day of Prayer event and for participating in unnecessary public squabbles with the Accompong Maroons. According to Golden, urgent matters that are being overlooked by the Prime Minister include crime, health, education, and climate change. If you ask yourself the question, will it, the cabinet shuffle, be a better healthcare outcome? The answer is no. Will it lead to better response to the crisis in education caused by the pandemic and chronic problems facing the education system long before the pandemic, or address the crisis of crime and violence in the country? The answer is no, Golden said. He pointed to the decision by Holness to appoint Dr. Derek McCoy as the country's next Attorney General and questioned the fact that McCoy is not a member of either of the Houses of Parliament. He will not sit in Parliament, so he cannot be held accountable to the Jamaican people, even though he is a political appointee who advises the cabinet. This is an unacceptable arrangement, especially at a time when the Prime Minister has been talking up a storm on constitutional reform, Golden said. The Attorney General must be brought into Parliament so that he can answer to the representatives of the people. On matter of crime, the opposition leader said Jamaica is drifting in a sea of lawlessness and despair and called for a balanced approach to the implementation of zones of special operation with strengthened mechanism for crime fighting and peace management initiative. Golden applauded the government for imposing a Zozo in Parade Gardens era of the violent raid central Kingston, even as he pointed out that his party has made this call more than 6 months ago. In the meantime, the opposition is calling for a more comprehensive set of measures to protect the vulnerable, such as pensioners, the unemployed, the single mothers, until the economy has fully recovered. To this end, Golden is reiterating his call for the minimum wage to be increased to at least $12,000 weekly. Jamaica continues to register record COVID-19 numbers with 1,740 new cases. Jamaica on Tuesday reported over 1,740 new cases of COVID-19, a record high for the country since the outbreak of the pandemic. According to the latest statistics from the Ministry of Health and Wellness, the country also reported one virus-related death in the last 24 hours. This brings the total number of cases recorded on the island since the start of the pandemic to 105,172 and the death toll to 2,502. Of the newly reported cases, there were 1,011 females and 701 males, with ages ranging from 1 day to 99 years. The cases were recorded in Kingston and St. Andrew 587, St. Catherine 309, St. James 170, St. Anne 168, St. Elizabeth 78, Westmoreland 70, Manchester 68, St. Thomas 54, Clarendon 53, Hanover 48, Trelawney 44, Portland 36, and St. Mary 29. Meanwhile, the latest victim was a 77-year-old male from St. Catherine. 3 deaths were reported under investigation. The country also recorded 94 new recoveries, bringing the total number of recoveries to 66,675. The country's positivity rate now stands at 60.3%. There are confirmed 10,458 active cases on the island. NLA breakdown creates $450 million risk exposure. The Auditor General's Department has pinpointed delay in reconciliation of bank accounts, long-standing accounts receivables, and advance at the National Land Agency NLA that had led to risk exposure to the government totaling just over $450.21 million. The deficiency was identified in the Auditor General's Department 2021 annual report leading the House of Representatives on Tuesday. The report details the department's examination of the government's account up to March 31, 2021, along with the performance of the Auditor General's Department from December 2020 to November 2021, and all audits conducted up to November 2021. The audit of the Lands Agency financial statements for the period April 1, 2011 to March 31, 2019 brought to the surface matters of poor management over accounting and financial operational processes, where there was a great lack of supervisory review of the agency's accounting and financial processes, resulting in unreconciliated account balances for the period, according to the Auditor General's Department. The agency said the draft financial statements had numerous errors as a result and was returned to the NLA for correction in February 2021, but the corrected statements have not been submitted. NLA have since indicated that the final accounts unit is faced with chronic staffing challenges. As such, additional staff was engaged on a temporary basis to assist in completing the financial statements, the report said. The report noted that the efforts made to reconcile estimate management accounts up to August 2021, but emphasized that the bank reconciliation statements should be prepared monthly to minimize the risk of undetected error and irregularities in the NLA's banking transition. This is in the context where the March 2012 reconciliation statements for 3 bank accounts were prepared December 2019, 91 months after the prescribed time frame for preparation. GOJ guidelines stipulate that the bank account should be reconciled monthly. Auditor General Pamela Monroe Ellis insisted. These issues accounted for risk exposure for over $333 million. At the same time, the NLA has also been cautioned about not having an effective system in place to reduce the risk of financial loss from uncollected revenue, with age account receivables and advances, which saw a debt of approximately $26.7 million uncollected for up to 7 years. The government auditors further stated, additionally, we identified variance of $3.4 million between the accounting, records and financial statement for the periods under review. We saw no evidence that the NLA's receivable debt collection management was guided by a collective policy. Further, in keeping with the accounting standards, we found no evidence that NLA conducted periodic assessment to determine the collectability of these outstanding amounts. As a result, the NLA's tardiness that were uncleared advanced to up to 7 years, with a remaining balance of $21.03 million at March 2019. Also, NLA did not obtain the requisite supporting documents to clear staff advance totaling $69.21 million as at March 2019. Monroe Ellis said the NLA has since advised that several of these advances related to small, routine expenses of ongoing projects that will have to remain open until the projects are completed, but did not present the requested information to validate this explanation. This breakdown in NLA's control environment over the management of the public resources exposes the agency to financial loss and erroneous financial information to its stakeholders, the Auditor General said. The agency had advised that it has started the process of conducting a thorough review of its accounting and financial operations to correct past deficiencies and prevent recurrences. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell for daily updates.